Hey, what's up, guys? So, how often you guys have some sort of idea and okay, for my example, I had a whole episode that I wanted to talk about. I was like, this will be great, and I can segue into different stories. It's gonna be so good. And then I get to the point where I'm supposed to actually do it. And I have no clue what I was planning to talk about. None whatsoever. And it feels like that's just kind of rude, first of all. Thanks, brain. But I assume that's pretty normal, right? But I've also assumed things like that in the past. And I think I'm finding that, that's not a neurotypical behavior. If as you're falling asleep, you go, oh, I need to remember to pick up this or that, then neurotypical person will generally pick it up. But, for those of us that don't have a neurotypical brain, your brain doesn't always work the way that, you think it probably should. And that's really frustrating. Okay, which way do you want to go with this? Do you want to go school or work story? Let's do both, if I remember. So, all throughout school, elementary school, it was fine. But I went to tech school and got my degree and everything. But it was okay, so in class and stuff, they would have lectures and they'd be going over the different theory and the math, all of that sort of thing, which is fine. It was good information. Everybody needed to know it. But even to this day, I don't know how to take notes. And that feels like something I should know how to do. Something that should have probably been taught at some point in time in school. Because everybody would say, oh yeah, just take notes. Okay. How? Well, you just take notes. You can highlight in a book or something, and then you can just highlight the important parts. But what? What a ludicrous thing to say to somebody, right? Because, okay, if somebody took the time to write this whole book, the textbook of American history, world history, geography, or whatever, right? Or it could be any other subject as well, but that's just the one that, for whatever reason, sticks in my head. Me, who's just learning it, who am I to say what's the important part and what's not? I guess I've always assumed that if the writer of the book thought it was important enough to put it in the textbook, then it's probably something I should consider important, right? But to somebody who's just learning it, I'm supposed to just know, well, yeah, they made sure to include this wording or this phrase or this whatever, but that's not important. No, they put it in the textbook for a reason. It's the textbook example, right? Or if I'm taking notes during a lecture in college or trade school or high school or middle school, if the teacher's just talking and I'm supposed to be taking notes, bruh, you're the teacher. I'm assuming that since you get paid to tell me these things, you probably aren't going to just go, oh yeah, and then my cat, and then my dog, and then my bird, and then, oh yeah, and George Washington was president, and then, right? I don't think that it should be on me as the person who doesn't know anything about this subject that you're trying to get me to learn. I don't think it should be on me to decide, hey, what you're saying right now, that doesn't matter. That's irrelevant to what you're trying to teach me. Because, if I already know what's important, and that's what I should be highlighting in the book, or that's what I should be writing down in the notes, then what is the point of the book? Or the teacher, right? I mean, I'm not crazy here, right? I do get that I'm wrong, you know, but it feels like maybe I don't know. My brain doesn't work in the way that, where other people go, okay, I can listen to this lecture and go, okay, let me filter out all the unnecessary stuff and I'll get the names and dates and locations, and that's all I need. But if the teacher is taking the time to tell a story about how George Washington said this to so-and-so, okay, there must be a reason that they're telling me this, right? They wouldn't just, hey, here's a funny thing, don't write it down. But, because that's just wasting everybody's time, right? And, okay, and not like in a, oh, we're just wasting everybody's time, I'm just gonna talk for an hour. But, like, there's a difference, right? Between, like, the teacher including a joke or just a fun little fact, just to keep it entertaining, right? But if I'm supposed to be taking notes, and I mean, I'm going in circles at this point. But my point was that, like, I can't take notes. I'm bad at that. So, take 20 minutes to explain 4 words. That's my style. But, like, being at tech school, listening to a lecture, like, I could okay, what I was studying was mostly, like, math or tangentially math, so, like, physics based. I went to school to be an electrician. So that always just made sense to me. And I don't know how many notes you can take for math, right? Like, okay, yep, I got it. Amps times ohms equals volts. Cool. Explain it again. Ohms times amps equals volts. Okay, yep, that's the same. And volts divided by amps equals ohms. Yeah, it sure does. That's how math works, right? Okay, and that's fine. If someone else needs that, so you explain out every single, okay, amps times ohms equals volts. Ohms times amps equals volts. Volts divided by ohms equals amps. Volts divided by amps equals ohms. Great, okay. Someone else may need that. Now let's go over the practice and do that 50 times, right? Welcome back to, 4th grade math? 3rd grade? Welcome back to elementary school math. And the school I was at, it's supposed to be like college equivalent. I mean, I end up with a degree at the end, and it can transfer into a more traditional university and count towards the bachelor's, right? But the math we're doing is, hey, if I have a 100 ohm resistor and I run 2 amps across it, what's the voltage? I mean, I don't need to take my socks off to figure that one out, right? Because what's 2 times 100? Like, it was always fascinating to me because some of the other students would very much struggle. And I'm not trying to, like, shame anybody, right? Because everybody has their own strengths and weaknesses. And maybe doing math in their head wasn't theirs. And that's fine. And maybe the instructors were just wanting to make sure that everybody, like, had this down before moving on to the next thing. Okay, that's fair. That makes sense to me. So, like, I get what they're teaching, okay? And I'm not good at taking notes. So, what am I supposed to be doing right now? And I end up just doodling or something in my notebook. Like, I had pages and pages and pages of just doodles. And the teachers would always get wild, right? Because, I mean, honestly, that's got to be frustrating. Because you're up there doing your job, trying to educate the masses, and then I'm sitting here drawing a picture of my pen as a rocket ship. So they would, try and call me out on it. They would say, okay, what's the voltage here? I would glance up at the board, go, oh, it's 200, and then just go back to my doodle, right? And they go, well, okay, but how did you solve that? Why don't you come up to the board and show me how you solved it? Okay. So then I'd go up to the board, go 2 times 100 equals 200. And that's a very basic example, right? That's not how the majority of the classes work. But, all the stuff they were teaching, I would pay attention for the first... That's not even true. I was paying attention the whole time. I was listening. I don't know how to take notes, so I can't write anything down. If there's a formula, yeah, I'll write that down. But going over equations, that I don't feel like that needs to be written down, right? But all through the school, we would be talking about PLCs, programmable logic controllers, which are basically very expensive Arduinos or ESP32s or that sort of thing. And that all made sense to me as well. There was in the PLC class, obviously we had to be on computers because we were doing the programming for them. And I was just sitting there doodling. One of the other guys goes, hey, Jacoby, you want to put a game on here? Being a dumb teenager. I was like, well, there should already be games on there. It's a Windows computer, and I doubt they went through properly and removed the Microsoft apps. So if you just type in SOL, it should pop up Solitaire. And sure enough, it did. And the instructor did not like that. He went to the program chair or the dean or whatever, and this is literally true. He tried to have me expelled for hacking the computer lab. And luckily, the program chair was reasonable enough to say, okay, what's your side? I said, I didn't do any of that. The program was already installed. I just let the other students know how to open it. I didn't play solitaire. They asked me how to do it, and I told them how. Well, the instructor said, no. I uninstalled it. Which I challenged him, which, that's not the right call. But challenged him, I said, okay, how'd you uninstall it? I went there, I went to where that program was, and I hit delete. I said, well, there's your problem, because it's a protected Windows app, or whatever the proper phrase is. I knew it at the time. I said, you can't just delete it, because it's part of the Windows file system. You have to go through and delete it a special way. I can show you how to if you like. Which, no, absolutely not. He would not accept that. So, yeah, that's fine. You don't want to accept help? Okay. You don't want to admit you're potentially incorrect? Okay. Because he was supposed to be the computer guy for the whole campus. And I was like, nah. But everybody has the opportunity to learn new things all the time. It's not just while you're at school that you learn new things. Right? And I'm bad at taking notes, but I feel like I'm pretty good at learning new things. But let me kick it back to you guys, I guess. Do you know any note-taking systems that work really well for you? But if you have one, it's a little late for me to take notes in class really well now, but I'm sure my kids at least could consider. But also, I do love learning new things. So even if it's something I don't end up using, it's still fun sometimes, right? Yeah, that's the episode for today, guys. If you like it, give it a thumbs up, consider subscribe. Feel free to suggest topics, comments, questions, commenty type things in the, I'm gonna guess, comments. But yeah, thanks for listening, guys. Hope you have a great night or day, and until next time, be safe, guys.